Hey, it's the end of 2024. That sure was a year, full of things that happened. I played a lot of games this year, but then again, I play a lot of games every year. That's because I have crippling mental disorders that make me want to gouge my own eyes out when I'm around other people, but that's neither here nor there. This is about video games. I finished 33 games this year, and they range from the absolute dregs of Eye of the Beholder 3 Assault on Myth Drannor, all the way to the lofty heights of Metal Slug Tactics. I played old games, I played new games, I played new versions of old games, and I played old versions of new games. Okay, maybe not that last one, but I'd love to play a demastered Fire Emblem Engage. So yeah, let's get into it and take a look at some video games. I'm Richard for RPG Fortress, and this is all 33 games I finished in 2024. Okay, so first off, there were a couple of games that I beat in 2023 after I did my 2023 video, so let's touch on them quick-like. Signalis, Lesbian Androids, Resident Evil 4 plus the Ada DLC. Shit, dude, how did they actually make Resi 4 better than it already was? Shining in the Darkness. I finally finished this Genesis dungeon crawler. This is a very playable and very addictive console dungeon crawler. Very happy I finally got around to playing this all the way to completion, decades after it was released. Okay, and now, on to 2024, starting with Persona 5 Tactica. Persona 5 Tactica was a surprisingly good tactics game based in the Persona 5 universe. Yeah, the artwork is a little bit silly, but the gameplay, and surprisingly the story, is very good. And the DLC is really stylish. Super Mario RPG. The Super Mario RPG remake is a heck of a good time. I've wanted to replay the original for years, so when this remaster came out, I grabbed it right away. The reworked score is also very impressive. Samurai Showdown RPG. This year I finally got to play Samurai Showdown RPG thanks to a fan patch. I always wanted to play this game ever since I first saw it previewed in magazines way back in the 90s. So it was fun to finally sit down and give it a whirl. It's a little bit crusty around the edges with an encounter rate that is way too high and some stiff gameplay, but for SNK's first and only RPG, Sam Show Rip is P good. Snufkin, the Melody of Moomin Valley. Snufkin, the Melody of Moomin Valley, is a cozy and cute anti-authoritarian adventure game where you traverse through the Finnish forest, thwarting cops and befriending adorable forest creatures. Kandagawa Jet Girls. Kandagawa Jet Girls is Senran Kagura on jet skis, a winning combination for sure. Atelier Ryza. I have sampled many of the Atelier games in the past, but never stuck with any of them through to completion. And after finishing Atelier Ryza, I have realized it's due to just not liking them very much at all. The gameplay is just a little bit too slow-paced for me, and just a little bit too repetitive, so, sorry Atelier fans. Super Mario Wonder. Super Mario Wonder is wonderful. I have boatloads of nostalgia for the NES and SNES Mario games, but I fell off at Mario 64 because I'm a cretinous imbecile with no taste. So when Mario Wonder descended from the mists of Nostalgiatopia, I knew it would be the modern Mario for me. And it was. This game had loads of charming characters, interesting levels, and truly bizarre sections. I can't wait to play it again. Wonder Boy in Monsterland. One of my earliest game obsessions, Wonder Boy in Monsterland is a great action-adventure platformer for the Sega Master System, and it even has some light RPG mechanics. This game is cute, challenging, has loads of secret stuff, and has a great, albeit short, soundtrack. Big-time nostalgia for me. Rockin' Cats. Hey, it's an old Atlas game. No, it's not an RPG. Rockin' Cats is a side-scrolling platformer on the NES. It's fine. It's a mascot platformer from an age of mascot platformers. It's pretty repetitive and not very hard, but it was a fun little romp. I liked the graphics and music just fine. I played all 3 of the Eye of the Beholder games back to back to back. Here is what I thought of them. Eye of the Beholder is the only game of the three that I had played when I was in my youth, and I played it a lot. A masterclass in dungeon crawler design, Eye of the Beholder is a brilliant time with great maps, challenging puzzles, and so many secrets you'll be drowning in magical weapons. Eye of the Beholder 2: The Legend of Dark Moon. I had always read that Eye of the Beholder 2 was better than Eye of the Beholder in every way, and after finally playing it, goddamn, this game rules. The graphics, maps, monsters, puzzles, everything in Dark Moon is polished to an absolute shine. Looking forward to playing this again in the future. Eye of the Beholder 3: Assault on Mythdraenor. I had always read that Eye of the Beholder 3 was worse than Eye of the Beholder in every way, and after finally playing it, goddamn, this game sucks. Dude, almost everything about this game sucks to the max. Maps are somewhere between boring and lame, monsters are either pushovers or kill you in one shot, and dude, it's just bad. I will not play this game ever again. What a shitty way to end a great little trio of games. Octopath Traveler: Champions of the Continent. Hey, this is a fucking gacha game, and it rules. Octopath Traveler: Champions of the Continent is an Octopath Traveler game for your phone, and it is actually very, very faithful to the quote-unquote real games. Yes, it has gacha characters, but it also has very fun combat, compelling villains, and a really cool story. Just such a surprising experience. I wish more mobile games were like this. Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising. Can you truly beat a fighting game? Well, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising had a story mode with loads of dialogue and an actual ending, so yeah, I guess you can. The Grand Blue vs. games are ridiculously strong fighting games. Amazing character designs, great graphics, and some really tight fighting action make Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising a hell of a good time. Just don't look at the cost of the DLC. Unicorn Overlord. One of the best tactics games I have ever played. It's actually cracked my top 10 favorite games ever, which is no small feat as most of the games on that list are drowning in nostalgia. This game sits along with Shining Force 2, Phantasy Star 4, and Valkyrie Profile as one of my favorite games of all time. I spent a good 100 hours on this game and loved every minute of it. The art direction, the gameplay, the music, the story is all just about perfect. Although I did find myself plowing through some endgame battles as fast as I could. I liked it, but 100 hours is still 100 hours. Just put a Griffin Master in every squad and then steamroll everything on your way to the boss. Fire Emblem Engage. While not the worst Fire Emblem game I've ever played, it definitely wasn't the best. Engage had some bright and fun characters brought to life by Mika Picasso, and I really like the emblem system. It was fun seeing characters like Lyn and Hector return without actually having them as units. Using them as essentially equipment to augment skills and stats was fresh and engaging. The story was a bit distracting with how Saturday morning cartoon it all was, although a couple of the villains were pretty tragic. The game overall was a bit uneven, but I still mostly had fun with it. Vi. I went into Samoga's second port of the Sega CDs, not very loved except by me as a 12-year-old Vi, expecting an absolute train wreck. I didn't like their previous port of the title to iPhone, but after a few quick patches, most of the stank was washed away from this title. The title has a new and probably just as bad as working designs, localization, but added quality of life updates like experience and gold modifiers, increased battle and walking speed, auto heal on level, and yay, Steam achievements, made this surprise port pretty darn decent. Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes. A spiritual successor to one of my favorite game series, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is an absolute and incredible yet flawed RPG masterpiece. But so are Suikoden 1 and 2. The game has great sprite art, some fun characters, 120 of them to recruit, loads to see and do, weapons to master, a castle to build, and some really good and really bad mini-games. While the game is far from perfect, with glitches and oversights aplenty, Eiyuden scratched an itch that sorely needed scratching. Capcom Beat 'em Up Bundle. Hey, I got my nostalgia on with the Capcom Beat 'em Up Bundle. I was looking forward to this for a while because I love some of those old Capcom beat 'em ups. Tower of Doom, Shadow over Mystara, Alien vs. Predator, Final Fight, all great stuff. But when I got to the Beat 'em Up Bundle, I was surprised that a few of the games I had never heard of were not exactly what I was looking for. Lightning Round, Final Fight, great. King of Dragons, good but basically a less featured Tower of Doom. Captain Commando, surprisingly basic. Knights of the Round, not very deep but has enough flash to keep it interesting. Armored Warriors, lots of options with swappable robot parts but did not really enjoy. Battle Circuit, impossibly dull. Hey, I played the Capcom Fighting Game Collection alongside the Beat 'em Up Bundle. I have never been great at fighting games, but I like to get my hands on them every now and then. Here's a quick rundown of all the games. 20,000 Darkstalkers titles. Yo, if you thought the incremental upgrades for Street Fighter 2 were minimal, play these games. I cannot tell them apart from each other, save for the original Darkstalkers, as the special moves are impossible to pull off. Also, remember Darkstalkers Isn't Dead? Yeah, that was 13 years ago. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. Fun! This is just a colorful puzzle game. Still holds up pretty well. Super Gem Fighter Minimix. I find these types of fighting game spin-offs a bit too novel to fully get into, but it was fun for a couple of matches before moving on. Cyberbots, like Armored Warriors, just really did not enjoy this despite the options for modding your big robots. Red Earth, hands down my least favorite in either of these two bundles. Where Tower of Doom and Mystara were great at combining action and light RPG mechanics, this title somehow leans too far in both directions at the same time, making it feel really out of place. Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. I mean, it's basically the best version of Street Fighter 2. It still plays like a dream. Fate Samurai Remnant. This game does not deserve to be this good. I am a fan of the Fate series of virtual novels, anime, and games, despite not being super versed on its ins and outs. I played through Fate Extra on the PSP back in the day and liked it just fine. I played a bit of Fate Extella and whatever the other one was called, and those were okay. I'm just not a big fan of Mushas. So when I loaded up Fate Samurai Remnant and saw the Omega Force logo, I was immediately suspicious that this was going to be a crappy game that I would quickly drop. But no, this is a very solid action RPG with so much to see and do that it barely even feels like a Musha. The story is good, the combat is good, the collecting is good, all of it is good. This game is flashy AF, and I am very happy that I stuck with it. Samurai Pizza Cats. I played the Samurai Pizza Cats, or more accurately Kyato Ninden Tayandi, game for the NES, and it's pretty darn cool. It's a side-scroller because of course it is, it's on the NES, but it also has enough bells and whistles to make it interesting enough to keep your attention for more than 5 minutes. Swapping out characters on the fly satisfies that Mega Man weapon swap-out craving. A great time. Fate Stay Night. I would say that I am a Fate fan, but maybe leaning towards the more casual side of being a fan. I like the IP, I've watched some of the animes, played some of the games, and now I have finally played the original visual novel in the form of the remastered version on Steam. I had a lot of fun with this, but it's also very long. I found myself taking loads of breaks to do other things. That being said, the writing, characters, world, and story are all very good. It's just a very long journey. Hey, I played through Shining Force for like the 22nd time or whatever. This game is like a comfort blanket for me. Just wrap me up and let me blaze level 4 the fuck out of some goblins. Endless Monday Dreams and Deadlines. A very, very silly visual novel / adventure game about a girl who works in an office and needs to make some illustrations for her company's current project. It is fun, entertaining, and very bizarre. There are aliens, robots, multiple endings, crazy coffee, and lumberlass. Really great and not particularly long. More visual novels this length, please. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. A gorgeous game with incredible combat weighed down with endless, monotonous quests. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. Another cool collection of old games. It's almost like I'm doing everything I can to cling onto my childhood. The Cowabunga Collection has loads of old TMNT games from the late 80s and early 90s. I loved the Turtles as a kid, so I had a great time going back and playing these games. And for the first time playing a couple of the Game Boy titles. Those ones aren't great. Dungeon Antiqua. The prospect of a Final Fantasy cross wizardry mashup sounds great, and Dungeon Antiqua is that idea, and it is great. A short and swift dungeon crawl with Final Fantasy and wizardry influence worn on its sleeve. I played through this entire game in 2 evenings, and it was a hell of a time. Plays great, plays fast, all fat has been trimmed. I cannot recommend this game enough. Phantasy Star 4. I haven't played this game in a long time. I played it this year for the first time in probably a decade or longer. After finishing this for the 20th time, it's still my second favorite game ever. Metal Slug. After starting up Metal Slug Tactics, we'll come back to that one in a minute, I got the urge to go back and play a bit of the original Metal Slug games. I ended up playing through all of the first game. Still very satisfying. Metal Slug Tactics. An absolute beast of a tactics game that every tactics fan needs to go out and play right now. It's a lot less RPG than I was expecting, and the roguelike elements had me scratch my head at first, but after a couple of runs, it all clicked together. This game is designed for fast, loose games of tactics. You have randomized maps, randomized skills, randomized loot, and a run only takes an hour or 2 to complete. So instead of one very long adventure, I got a dozen playthroughs with each successive game, giving me better items, skills, and characters due to perpetual unlocks. Very highly recommended. Click Olding. I let a man watch me click. Shining Force 2. Never gonna give you up, baby. And that's it! Video games! I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for sticking around. I'm Richard for RPG Fortress, and I'm gonna go finally play Baldur's Gate 3. Goodbye. Don't forget to hug a cat.